What is a sixth ranger? Sounds kind of obvious, right? You have a team of 5 Power Rangers and then you add a sixth. And you would be right at surface level. But what happens when a team maxes out at 5 or even goes as far as 7, 10 or even 12? See, a sixth ranger isn't necessarily a sixth ranger, and a sixth ranger doesn't always have to be the sixth ranger. Let me explain. I made a YouTube short recently on how Kyuranger, a Super Sentai team of 12 rangers, has 9 main rangers and 3 additional rangers, yet the 12th ranger is the 6th ranger, and people asked me to elaborate further. So for the first 15 years of Super Sentai, we primarily had teams of 3 or 5, and every so often we'd have another masked hero show up every now and again. But in Super Sentai's 16th season, Zyuranger, which was also adapted into Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, we have a team of 5 rangers, and a couple of episodes down the line, we get a 6th ranger, a green ranger in the form of Brai and or Tommy. And that is it at face value. That is where the term originates from, but then we do spark this sort of invisible checklist, I guess, of what actually makes a 6th ranger. 1. Their suit somewhat differentiates from the main team. 2. Their morpher differs from the main team. And 3. Their Zord is standalone to the others. In the Green Ranger's case, he has the dragon shield and the spikes on his gauntlet as opposed to the diamonds. His power morpher is gold instead of silver, and the Dragon Zord, whilst able to combine with other Zords, it is fully capable of standing on its own as its own Zord and Megazord. The same would go for the White Ranger both in Dairanger and Mighty Morphin Season 2 and 3. As Mighty Morphin goes on, the lines blur a little bit because Tommy does then become the leader, and there's no real 6th Ranger by the end of Mighty Morphin, but is still very much only considered to be Tommy. We then get Zeo, a team of 5, then Gold joins. But then Power Rangers Turbo wouldn't introduce a 6th Ranger, instead would open a new category of armoured or masked allies, this being the Blue Centurion and the Phantom Ranger. Acquaintances of the team, but definitely not the 6th Rangers. Power Rangers in Space would do the same with the Silver Ranger, and Lost Galaxy is a weird situation where they had an armoured ally whose powers ended up becoming those of a 6th Ranger. But we'll get back to that later with a different point. Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue to Power Rangers Wild Force would follow the standard formula of 5 Rangers, then adding a 6th. I mean, heck, Power Rangers loved the concept of 6th Rangers so much, they made an original 6th Ranger for a team that once didn't have one, Go-Go 5. I mean, given their name, you can understand why. He is a pretty cool looking ranger though. They did a pretty good job. Power Rangers Ninja Storm started with 3 rangers, then 2 more joined, and then the 6th Green Samurai Ranger joined to round off the team. And of course, he is the 6th Ranger. And we were going quite well. We were running strong until hitting Power Rangers Dino Thunder, because Trent, the White Ranger, is the 6th Ranger, but there's only 5 Rangers on this entire team. We start with 3, and then Tommy becomes the Black Ranger a few episodes in. Later in the show, we get an evil White Ranger that eventually joins the team as a good guy. Whilst numerically he is number 5, he does fit the 6th Ranger category. Different suit with a shield, red visor, and no logo. A very different morpher, and a Zord that, whilst again can combine, can also be standalone. However, the Black Ranger in this season also checks all of those boxes. And this is where another subset enters the equation. So we have the 6th Rangers and we have the masked allies. The Black Dino Thunder Ranger is actually neither. He's a different category called the Mentor Rangers. He's been with the team since the start, mentoring them as Rangers before unlocking powers of his own. This is a category that fans created to differentiate between different types of Rangers, especially because a 6th Ranger is never there right at the start of the show, or at least usually. And the Mentor Ranger usually plays a character that only shows up every now and again, rather than all the time with the other Rangers. And because of this, there is another loophole within the checklist. We can extend the morpher out to the morphing call. The main 3 and Tommy all say Dino Thunder power up, whereas Trent says White Ranger Dino power. And a small detail like that can go overlooked, but it really is one of the deciding factors. Maybe that's like 2.5 on the checklist, or even like a 4th point in general, maybe. We take a brief intermission in the video to talk about the fact that this channel is about to hit 30,000 subscribers. Okay, so I was doing this bit about you guys subscribing before 30k, but as I'm editing this, we hit that last night on a live stream. So thank you for that. And I don't know, subscribe before 31k, I guess? 30k! I also want to take a brief moment to talk about my Patreon. I'll be quick with it. The lowest price is just £3 a month, which is the price of like a meal deal or a fancy coffee. You get early access to videos, you get ad-free viewing, you get some exclusive content, and you get your names credited in the video. Which reminds me, huge thank you to Sarah Jane, Eric Leutz, and Sam James, our super Dino Mode patrons. I told you I'd be quick. I told you I'd be quick. Let's get back to the video. Well, let's calm it down and get back to the video. Straight after Dino Thunder, we have SPD. The show debuts with 3 Rangers, but its true form is with 5. Now, the physical 6th member of the team to morph is Anubis Kruger, who becomes the Shadow Ranger. But did you guess correctly? He's not the 6th Ranger. That would come later on in the form of Sam, the Omega Ranger. Let's refer back to the checklist. Different designs? Both yes. Different morphers? Both yes. Standalone Zords? Both yes. The main deciding factor is, of course, the fact that the Shadow Ranger is a Mentor Ranger, immediately fitting into this category, but we can also nitpick some other points as well. They all have numbers on their chest, whereas the Omega Ranger has Roman numerals that are also 6, you know. And even though I said 6 doesn't necessarily mean 6th, it does in this case. Whilst the Shadow Morpher is different to the regular SPD Morpher, it's only really a repaint. The Omega Morpher is different entirely. Later down the line, we'd get the Cat Ranger and the Omega Ranger, and their morphers are also just repaints of the SPD Morpher and the Omega Morpher, but these create a new category of Extra Rangers. So here's the deal so far. We have 6th Rangers, we have Mentor Rangers, we have Masked Allies, and we have Extra Rangers. It's a lot, I know. Mystic Force has 5 Rangers, but before they get their powers, Udonna morphs into the White Mystic Ranger. She of course falls straight into the Mentor Ranger role. Even though we see her get her powers before the others, she's still a Mentor Ranger. We then get Solaris Knight, who is the 6th Ranger for Mystic Force, even though Ranger isn't even in his description. And then we get Lianbo, who goes from Korag to the Wolf Warrior, and he's the Extra Ranger of the team. Operation Overdrive? Plain and simple. 5 main Rangers, then Tyzon, the Mercury Ranger, the 6th Ranger, then Sentinel Knight is a masked ally. Jungle Fury is in a bit of a world of its own. We have 3 main Rangers, then a Mentor Ranger, then an Extra Ranger. They eventually then get 2 masked allies, but for whatever reason, the Rhino Ranger just isn't considered to be a 6th Ranger. Whilst the Sentai counterpart, Geki Ranger, didn't have them, Jungle Fury does include 3 Spirit Rangers, but these are also very much included under Extra Rangers. Let me remind you, Dino Thunder White, Aberray Killer, who is the 5th Ranger on the team, is a 6th Ranger. The Rhino Ranger, who also has a different morpher, has a very different sort of aesthetic, you know, especially with that black belt, and has a standalone Zord, apparently isn't a 6th Ranger. And this isn't even remotely similar to the Magna Defender issue, which we're about to get to. RPM starts with 3 Rangers, then gains their 5th Ranger 4th and their 4th Ranger 5th. Let's not get into that decision. And then they actually have 2 6th Rangers in the form of Gem and Gemma, a brother-sister duo who are the Gold and Silver RPM Rangers. Whilst this does bump the Ranger team count up to 7, they are still both considered the 6th Rangers of the team. Power Ranger Samurai, plain and simple. 5 Rangers, then the Gold Ranger joins, different morpher, different Zord. He's got the blue and the gold, he's very different. Until, at the end of Super Samurai, Lauren shows up as another Red Samurai Ranger. Now, she could be considered as an Extra Ranger, but she was also meant to be the original Red Samurai Ranger, but then Jaden took her place. So in theory, Jaden's the Extra Ranger, but then also none of them are, they're just both Red Rangers. Yeah. Now, Power Rangers Megaforce is strange because there are 2 6th Rangers over the 2 seasons. First, it's Robo Knight, and then it's Orion, the Silver Super Megaforce Ranger. Robo Knight to me more so fits the Masked Ally category because he is a robot, but I guess he's a 6th. But it is thanks to Super Megaforce, aka Gokaiger, which is the Sentai that it comes from, that gives us the most defining factors on 6th Rangers, which is kind of what this video is based on. See, Gokaiger is an anniversary season where the Rangers can turn into past Ranger teams, and the Silver Ranger gets a gold upgrade, including a shield that has all of the 6th Rangers of Super Sentai history. It confirms that all prior 6th Rangers are Mighty Morphin Green, Mighty Morphin White, Gold Zeo, In Space Silver, Quantum Time Force, Lunar Wolf Wild Force, Green Samurai Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder White, Omega SPD, Solaris Knight Mystic Force, Mercury Operation Overdrive, Gold and Silver RPM, Gold Samurai, and Robo Knight. Confirmed in the show, no speculation needed. Now, this definitely confirms that Aberray Killer, Dino Thunder White, is a 6th Ranger, and it also confirms that the Rhino Ranger definitely isn't. But it also confirms that the Magna Defender isn't a 6th Ranger, but there is a bit more story to that than the Rhino Ranger. In both Lost Galaxy and Gingaman, the Magna Defender, or Black Knight, is a masked ally in his own right, but he ends up dying and passing his powers on to Mike, or Huga. Whilst this does mean that we have a human that morphs / henchins into that suit, it seems to remain tied to the fact that the Magna Defender, Black Knight, was once a being of his own. But then I bring you back to Robo Knight. As far as I'm aware, Robo Knight or Gosei Knight never had like a human henchin into him. Like, he's just a robot. That's their choice, I guess. He's a 6th Ranger. He's on the shield. Power Rangers Dino Charge gives us 10 or even 11 Rangers. We have the first 5, and then we have the Gold Ranger, who luckily in this case is the 6th Ranger, and the 6th Ranger. He has a different styled suit, a different morpher, and a unique Zord. Miss Morgan is the Mentor Ranger, having the same morpher and suit design as the others. Graphite and Aqua are extra Rangers, also having the same morpher, and Xenowing is kind of a weird crossbreed between Mentor Ranger and Extra Ranger. His morpher is different to the others, but it's just a repaint and nothing close to the Gold Ranger morpher. He's ancient and a close friend of Keeper's, but doesn't align with the Mentor role in the same way Miss Morgan does. So for that reason, I'd still definitely consider him an Extra Ranger, but I guess it's a bit more of a grey area. We don't get to see Heckle become the Dark Ranger until Cosmic Fury, but he's also just an Extra Ranger. However, it is interesting to note that whilst he doesn't have a specific Zord, his morpher and suit design does stand out amongst the others. So had he been introduced in Dino Charge's 2 seasons, I don't know, maybe it would have been up for debate, but he didn't come into play until Cosmic Fury. He's an Extra Ranger. Oh, and Albert Smith, when he was the Purple Ranger, is also just an Extra Ranger. Ninja Steel has a core 5, then the Gold Ranger is the 6th, and then we get 2 additional Red Rangers, but they're just Extra Rangers. Then Beast Morphers. We start with a core 3, and then add 2 more, and that is it. However, those 2 are the Beast Morphers Gold and Silver Rangers, and they're both considered the 6th Rangers. Their morphers are different, their Zords combine with each other's, and their suits have additional armor. Weird how that makes these guys the 6th Rangers, and not the Thunder Rangers from Ninja Storm, who also have different morphers, combinable different Zords, and armor on their suits. However, Super Sentai once again has our back with Gokai Silver. So you remember the shield that I talked about? Well, the morpher, aka the Gokai Cellular, also has the Rangers' helmets on the keypad. A few years after Gokaiger, we got an extension keypad showing the Rangers that came after Gokaiger, including both Silver and Gold Go Busters, also known as Beast Morphers. It really doesn't make sense in this scenario, but that's just how it is. Blame Toei, I guess. After Beast Morphers, we get Dino Fury. 3 Rangers to begin with, then 2 join, and then the Gold Ranger joins last. Different secondary colour, different morpher, standalone Zord, and also the Gokai Cellular. And that's all well and good, you know? Everything's lining up until we get to the American exclusive season, Cosmic Fury. Who is the 6th Ranger in Cosmic Fury? The team of 6 carry over, and due to Zato going missing and Ollie turning evil, the team starts with 4 Rangers, red, green, black, and gold. Whilst Gold does have a slightly different suit with keeping the blue accents of the old suit, he now has the same morpher and has a matching set of weapons with the others. And whilst they don't have a specific Zord each and they like to mix and match them, his primary Zord is the Swordfish, which is just like all the other Cosmic Fury Zords. When Zato rejoins the team as the Zenith Ranger, he is number 5, but he could be considered to be the 6th Ranger. His morpher does match the others, but he gets a cape and his weapon is a Morphin Master Staff rather than a Morphin Grid assigned weapon. He pilots the Cosmic Dragon Zord, which does need other Zords in its Megazord mode, but overall is fairly standalone. But then Fern becomes the Orange Ranger after him. Physically the 6th Ranger, but she fits in a lot more with the core 5, especially more than Zato does. Then in the last 2 episodes, Ollie rejoins the team as the Blue Ranger, but he definitely isn't the 6th Ranger because the only reason he has his morpher is because Zato died and the Cosmic Orb linked to him afterwards. When he was evil, he did have a different suit, a different morpher, and a different Zord, but he wasn't Cosmic Fury Blue, he was the Dark Dino Fury Ranger at that point. Or the Dark Fury, rather, I believe is what they called it. Who do you think is the Cosmic Fury 6th Ranger? I'd be inclined to say Zato, but the fact that Ollie, Fern, and Zato kind of like rotate around each other, it's hard to place, but I think Zato fits it the most in this. But then at that point, is he a Mentor Ranger? Because of how OG he is to the team? And I know this is sort of like an invisible list, but come on, the breadcrumbs are there. Look, I think the bottom line is that a 6th Ranger fits in with the natural aesthetic of the team. However, they have slightly different suits, they have different morphers, different weapons, and a different Zord. Do you think I missed anybody out? Do you think there's anybody that isn't a 6th Ranger but deserves to be one? Do you think that there's anybody who is a 6th Ranger that doesn't deserve to be one? And who do you think is the Cosmic Fury 6th Ranger? Let me know in the comments. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much, I really appreciate it. Comment the phrase 6th Ranger power in the comments so I know who made it to the end and who didn't. And if you like videos on 6th Rangers, then definitely check out my history of Silver Rangers and history of Gold Rangers. They'll be linked at the end of the video. Huge shout out and thank you to Sarah Jane, Eric Leutz, and Sam James, our Super Dino Mode patrons.